Okay, so there is a video that is making the rounds online right now, and it's for the PS5 and Spider-Man Miles Morales. And Sony certainly doesn't seem too happy with it being out there because this is part of the embargo that they have in place right now for PlayStation 5s that they've sent out to outlets, media sites, YouTubers. It seems like either way it got out there. I don't know if a PS5 itself is out there early or someone at an outlet or something put some video footage out they should not have. But we have some footage of Spider-Man Miles Morales and the overall boot time and loading of the game. And while we always talk about next generation bringing high graphical fidelity improvements and all of this, it looks like we're going to be aiming more towards the load times and the overall convenience of being able to play these games in the first place. Guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave Plus channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Now, unfortunately, because I've noticed that these videos keep getting pulled down, I can't necessarily show you the video because I've seen it. There are certain companies that you don't necessarily mess with when it comes to leaked footage. It'd be Nintendo, Sony, Rockstar, and 2K. There are a few others. I think Microsoft is still kind of like with it because we saw, of course, the Series S get leaked and they kind of played into it. But Sony has done some wild stuff when it comes to striking down videos that even show so much as an early picture of the PlayStation 4 Slim, as an example. Yes. So I'm not going to show the footage here, but I will talk a bit about it. It's very easy to find. If you go on Twitter and just search for it, or you go on YouTube, they keep popping up and then getting ripped back down. But the footage shows the overall performance of starting at the UI, the main menu for the PlayStation 5, and then going from there and getting into the Spider-Man Miles Morales game. Just going from the home screen of the PS5 to the gameplay is like 7 seconds. People are timing it on Reddit, and if you go from the menu in Spider-Man Miles Morales, you hit continue and you go to your save, it takes less than 2 seconds, and it really is this jarring effect. If we go over to the website here, Push Square, they describe it as Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales PS5 loading leak melts minds. Seriously, it is like that online right now because there is this realization that we have been dealing with crazy long load times, and it's not even just on consoles. People on PC have to realize, and sometimes it's tough because you're like, I have this ultra powerful PC and all this, and I'm playing these games at super high resolutions and frame rates. The games are still developed around the consoles, and then they're moved to PC, and you can turn your settings up and all of this. Once you remove the lowest common denominator of the consoles that were kind of holding things back with their mechanical hard drives, and you go up to a solid-state drive, specifically a very fast one even that's in the PS5, you start to see some pretty wild stuff. In fact, from what I saw with Miles Morales, they didn't even have a loading screen seemingly in there. It faded to black, and then it came right back up, and you're in the game. It was super fast. So you have those moments, of course, where you know you're going to load into a game, and I mean, we pick something like Red Dead Redemption 2 that takes forever to load. Like, we're talking minutes of load time. You'll like pick up your phone or something, or seriously get up and go do something. It's like back in the day with older computers where you have a mechanical drive and you're loading up Windows XP or something, especially like IDE drives. You would turn your computer on and then go do something for a while and then come back and your PC would be ready to go. That is kind of going to be the jarring effect because now you start up a PC with an SSD or an NVMe drive, any of that in there, right? And it loads like right away. It's very, very fast. But if you go back now to one of these old PCs, it's like, how do we deal with that? That is the big aha factor that we are going to have going into this generation coming up, to where on either end, because we're going from old, really slow mechanical drives, 5400 RPM drives, up to an SSD. Either way, the PS5, we know that SSD is faster, but the Series X still is also making a substantial jump over having a traditional slow hard drive. We get to the point where like load screens are basically non-existent for the most part as we start to leave behind the old systems, and it's not all cross-gen for the most part. That will be a crazy thing to go back to 3 years from now. I just said before during a podcast, if we go from the Xbox One back to the 360 and look at how some of those games looked back then, you go, wow, how did I play this back then? We're going to get that same effect going from the PS5 and the Series X to the Xbox One and the PS4 maybe 3 years into this next generation, but it's not going to be necessarily about the visuals. Sure, they'll look a little better on the newer platforms. Obviously, we're targeting 4K with these, and I'm sure as we get further in, some of these more talented first-party studios will start to really get some cool-looking games out. But the biggest thing is going to be not having to wait for the game to start, not having to sit staring at a loading screen, because if you think about that, you get really used to moving around on your PC really fast. Then you go back to this older one, and it's like, I just double-clicked that. It's taken 30 seconds to load. That's the effect we'll have with these current-gen platforms 3 or 4 years from now. I think it's just people now seeing it actually functioning. Like, they've told us it's going to be fast. We've heard we're going to be cutting this down dramatically, but it's hard to really, I guess, even imagine it at first until you start seeing it, and then it'll be another level when we actually start using it and these developers realize that they have access to these super fast storage mediums and they don't have to develop this long elevator scene that's literally just there to load up the next scene. They don't have to develop you ripping open a door real slowly because on the other side it's loading still, or kind of slide through a passageway or any of this. It's going to be very interesting to see how the overall gameplay and the world building around these games itself even alter going into next generation. It's exciting stuff, and just this little bit of leaked footage really put into perspective what we could be getting going into next generation. I'm looking forward to it, and it's not even just about the visuals, the overall convenience, being able to get into games very fast and not have to deal with minutes on minutes of loading screens. Guys, let me know what you think about this down below, especially if you saw the footage, and let me know what you think about how fast some of these games are going to be loading going into next gen. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.